versus facts. Hey, stats versus facts. Hey, you know where we at on the stats versus facts. Yeah, my boy, hella black. He on the stats versus facts. And you might get smacked by the stats versus facts. Hey. Yo, welcome to Stats versus Facts Sports Talk. It's your boy Marsh. And I'm here with the crew. What it do, crew? What it do?
Oh, ring.
What's going on? What's going on?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got C-Mac in the black hat, and we got Greg. He don't beg, but he's still looking for that money.
No governments, G-Reg, please.
G-Reg.
Give him that stem pack.
That's Stimmy pack.
Give me that stimmy pack. Give me that stimmy pack. Without a doubt. Well, guys, welcome to the show. We got another good one for you. We got Cutman's Corner will be joining us today as well to break down that UFC 257 McGregor versus Poirier fight. And we also have dadgum Chiefs winning and Brady, is he the GOAT? I mean, we got some good things going on today. Shout out not Popeyes today because I didn't get it today, man. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Making a statement.
Whoa, fighting back.
Yeah, fighting the power.
Too much fried food ain't good for your system, man.
And we don't got that sponsorship, Popeyes. So
Need that sponsorship. That's where the money coming from. Anyway, starting off, man.
4-piece, 2 biscuits.
4-piece, 2 biscuits. Starting off, fellas. Oh, man. The first game, Buccaneers versus the Packers, came down to the wire where Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are in position to win that game. But because of two things, which I'm going to ask y'all to weigh in, which one you thought was more, whose fault it was more, which one was more prevalent for the situation, between Aaron Rodgers not running or trying to run for the end zone, or Matt LaFleur choosing to kick the field goal instead of going for it on 4th down. Brady and the Bucs ended up winning 31-26. Brady had 3 interceptions, but also 3 touchdowns.
Yep, 3 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 280 yards.
It was like a tail of halves for him.
Yeah, really. And Rodgers had 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 346 yards. He was 33 of 48. Valdez-Scantling had a good day. 4 receptions, 115 yards for the Packers, and for the Buccaneers, Chris Godwin had 5 receptions for 110 yards. So definitely not the usual suspects. Not the usual.
For sure. You know, everybody kind of got taken out a little bit.
Like where is Devontae Adams?
Yeah.
Like normally you would expect him to have a big.
That's mostly on the Bucs front line getting pressure on Rodgers a lot.
Right. I mean, he did have 1 touchdown. Don't get me wrong. Adams did have 1 touchdown. He had 9 receptions, 67 yards, but he was targeted 15 times. So like he missed.
I feel like if Rodgers had more time, he definitely would have carved up the Bucs more.
Yeah.
But Bucs were really getting to him.
Yes, they were. So my question is to you guys: which mistake was cost the Packers the game? Was it LaFleur not going for the touchdown or going for it on 4th and instead kicking the field goal, or was it Rodgers not trying to run and get them closer? Or if not,
Christoph?
I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, it was both, obviously, but I mean, going for it on 4th down, definitely in my eyes would probably have to be the one, because I mean, Tom Brady had 3 interceptions, so you got to make him pay for those 3 interceptions, and especially when it's like you're close on 4th down, you should probably risk it instead of being, I'll probably have an opportunity down the road if we play a solid defense. Just like strike the iron while it's hot. Just go for it, man.
Yeah, for sure. I don't feel comfortable giving Brady the ball back. And then
all he
having to
needs
stop
is the
him.
first down.
Yeah, even though he's been through 3 interceptions, his stat line was 3 interceptions and 4 complete passes. That's all he did in the second half.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but even that with that, I rather give it to Rodgers and see what he can do.
Right. For me, it's just like Aaron Rodgers has to be more aware of his surroundings at that point. Because I mean, granted, if he doesn't score, he's probably going to get to what at worst the 3-yard line, and you're going to stop the clock by going out of bounds, more than likely. So I think that's more on him because had he gotten closer, I think LaFleur would have probably said, "Okay, we'll go for it." But even so, I think still LaFleur should have, given it to Rodgers to throw the touchdown. But after going 3 downs, they were out at like the 10-yard line and not making it. I can understand why he was like, okay, we'll kick it, and then we can probably get it back because I trust the defense. But I think that kind of goes more on Aaron Rodgers to me, just a little bit,
Yeah.
bit.
I mean, after those couple plays, you see him a little shaky, and you're like, they're covering Devontae Adams pretty well. We really don't have anything else after that. We're not running the ball, so
right. Because I mean,
maybe we shoot that 3-pointer.
If you get closer, you're like, okay, now maybe Aaron Jones can carry us in like he has done.
Yeah, or at least have the threat of it.
Because try to do running play from the 10-yard line wouldn't have worked.
No,
everybody was covered. So
I thought he could make the third down one. I thought he had more of a lane. Second one, I was like, those guys are gonna peel off and just nail you at some point.
Right, but
I think that third down one, he had more of a avenue to go ahead and go.
Oh, absolutely. At worst, he would have gotten to the 3-yard line. Probably would have gone out of bounds.
Yeah.
3 or 2-yard line, and then you just got to punch it in from there. I think that just goes on Rodgers, but that's me. I called it right for that. Well, not score-wise from that game, but from what we had written down, I said the Bucs were going to win that one 30-17, which it was kind of heading that way until the interceptions ended up being 31-26. So, I mean, C-Mac, I guess you were the closest because you said 27-21. But I was technically right. And for Greg and my dad, y'all were wrong.
Yep.
Y'all were wrong.
Bad against.
I didn't think the Bucs defense was gonna be that good. I was like, I just went with the best quarterback.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Now Brady's going to his 10th Super Bowl, man. That's amazing. He's GOAT.
Let's calm down. I got a lot of people were a little praising him a little too much.
I mean, he didn't have the greatest game, don't get me wrong, but
bro, you would have lost that game if your defense wouldn't have. After 3 interceptions, the Packers only got 7 points.
Right.
That should have lost you the game.
I agree, but I mean, he was hot.
You weren't the GOAT there. You weren't great there. So let's calm down. You're gonna lose the next round anyways. Let's chill.
He still won the game.
He didn't win the game.
They won the game, and
the Bucs won the game.
He had 3 touchdowns though. He's got 3 touchdowns. Don't get that wrong.
You throw 3 interceptions, it's 0. It's a net 0.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't score off those 3 touchdowns. It would be a net 0.
It's just ridiculous to see all the hype he did. It is a little. I mean, I understand it's good. Brady. It's a great win for him, and it looks great on his legacy, and everything is peachy. But let's look at what happened, the context of the game.
Oh yeah, and they built a lead, is what happened, and because they built a lead behind Tom Brady, throwing them 3 touchdowns, like C-Mac said. Granted, if the Packers didn't score or not. 2 of those interceptions, one of them Brady threw too far. I'll give you that. The other one went off of homeboy's hands, and got intercepted. And I forgot what happened with that third one. Oh yeah, the guy made a good play down the sideline to get that interception. So, and then he still let him down there to kick a field goal after that. So credit the Bucs defense for sure, but give Brady some credit.
He almost choked.
Almost did, but almost is only good for horseshoes and hand grenades, my boy.
You're gonna choke next week.
Hand grenades. We will see next week. On the second game, Chiefs and Bills, I was wrong. I went with my heart instead of my head, and we all saw what happened.
Yeah.
Chiefs ended up winning the game 38-24. The Bills looked discombobulated. I mean, early they looked okay, but then, Mahomes got it. And I'm not even going, you know what? It's not even Mahomes that really won it for them. It was Kelsey and Hill. The weapons he has around him make him greater than what I think he is. I'm not saying that he's not great, but it makes him greater than what he is. You give them weapons to Aaron Rodgers, he's going to make them same type of plays, possibly even better. You give Deshaun Watson them weapons.
No.
Yeah, he could. Deshaun
Watson's not as accurate as Rodgers and a Mahomes.
Oh, he's not as accurate, but you give him those type of weapons, he could be on par with them. That's all I'm saying. But point being, just back to my MVP case, this is why I'm like, I don't even know if I have Mahomes as number 2 on the MVP list. I would put it Derrick Henry, because he'll literally, like, he catches the ball and it's the yards after the catch what makes, what helps them out. Obviously, Mahomes is getting the ball to him and Kelsey, sure, but I mean, they're targets. Like, they're freaking making stuff happen. So yeah. I pump the brakes on the Mahomes. He's great. I get it. He's great. He's a good quarterback. But
I mean, he's shaking a lot of people off and running around making these
plays. He has. I mean,
that's a lot of the issue. That's the same thing him and Rodgers have. And Deshaun Watson does a little bit of the same thing. Is they create a lot of extra time.
Deshaun Watson does a lot of that. He just didn't have any type of weapons. DeAndre Hopkins was his main target, and what's his name? Fuller didn't hurt. So you give Deshaun Watson some guys to work with. Yeah, he gonna start winning some games. That's all I'm gonna say. Like Deshaun Watson and the Cowboys uniform with our receiving core. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's OP. That's just too much. That's just too much. That's like 35 points a game.
Shoot, yeah, it could be. And with how tough he is too, man. Let me stop before I get mad. Yeah. Back to the game. Mahomes 29-38, 325 yards, 3 touchdowns. Josh Allen 28-48, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Tyreek Hill had 9 receptions for 172 yards. And Kelsey had 13 receptions, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And both Kelsey and Hill only dropped 2 passes. Hill was targeted 11 times. Kelsey was targeted 15 times. So, I mean, those 2 right there were just eating them alive.
I mean, Kelsey's always going to be able to get open, especially with Mahomes extending the time. He's always going to be able to get open. And Tyree, like you said, is a yak monster, explosive play. You give him the ball, 5 yards, you can make it into a 50-yard game.
Yeah. McCole Hardman, they'll give him the reverse and he'll go off for about 20. He had 1 carry for 50 yards. I mean,
I thought he was rigged. I thought he was getting paid by somebody because you saw that muff punt.
Yeah.
It looked like he just threw that thing. I was like, "Oh, bro, whoa. Who's got money on this game?"
Now he went back,
just threw the ball.
He went back to the bench and he was getting on himself. And Kelsey came and said, "Hey, bro, be us." Or Mahomes too. They said, "Hey, bro, be us, be us." And he came out. And,
After that drop, I was like, "Oh, they better turn it around. They might throw this game."
Yeah, you thought it was gonna be a little different game.
Yeah.
But then the Chiefs defense was getting a lot of pressure on Allen. He was running around.
Yeah, they were
trying to make plays. I mean, I was surprised by how much pressure the Chiefs defense was applying and how tough they were playing.
Yeah, they're playing well.
Message.
Breeze.
Breezy.
One second, fella. And no, I do not have hoes for all the people that think,
respectable women. Marshall only talks to respectable women. A lot of them, but very respectable women.
I I have no women right now.
He's only talking to his fans. Only talking to his fans.
Hey,
Yeah.
ladies, hit me up. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Anyway.
And those applications.
Josh Allen led the Bills in rushing, 7 carries for 88 yards. Singletary's their running back, 6 carries for 17 yards. TJ Yeldon, 3 carries for 15 yards. I mean, they have no running game.
Yeah, they weren't going to run against the Bucks with Vita Vea, and their Bucks defense was
Chiefs.
It's been good all. Oh, Chiefs, my bad.
So
I was thinking about the Bucks.
Yeah, we'll bring that statement back. Really back.
The Chiefs defense, rush defense is good. Their passing defense isn't good.
Right. But they were getting pressure today. Now, if I'm the Bills, that's where you need to improve as a running back. You need to get a running back in the draft. If you have to trade a couple people, do it. Get yourself a dadgum running back.
I don't think it's about the running back. I think it's about the offensive line.
They need a running back because
like you saw with Zeke, we couldn't run the ball. He's a great talent, but if you don't have a line, running back can't do nothing about it.
Zeke is
it's just hard to run behind no offensive line.
Fair, but Zeke would still getting yards. He would do better than Singletary and Yeldon would if he was over there in Buffalo. So I'm just saying, shoot, Bills, go get you one of them running backs out of the 49ers because they have a lot of running backs and
they got one of the best offensive lines.
True, but you send one of them running back, but all them running backs got hurt though. So if you had one of
they just draft them in the 7th round. Whoever's the fastest running back, they'll draft late and just run straight, bro. We gotta make the holes free.
Right. If you got a whole bunch of running backs, but they're all getting hurt, does that really mean you got a good offensive line?
What does the offensive line have to do with running backs getting hurt?
Yeah. But I mean, I get you.
But for sure, I mean, they can go out. I mean, they drafted Zach Moss to kind of fill that role, but he got hurt. They could go after a hot. It's just they can find somebody in the draft to do what they need to do. Probably, I would go maybe Najee Harris. I mean, he can catch out of the backfield at least.
If you
at least
can
he gives
get
you a threat there.
If you can get him, or if not, maybe you could try to go for a Saquon because I don't know how he's going to be happy with the Giants. So it was a good game. And now joining us for the next little segment, we got that man Cutman,
all angles.
He's here.
I figured I would join you guys a little bit early, man.
Dang,
man.
I heard you guys were talking about some championship games that were this weekend.
Yeah,
are you an angel? All that bright light behind you.
I'm sorry that I don't have a nice recording room like you, Greg. I mean, you got the books behind you, like you actually you read and stuff like that. Like you look like you're an intelligent fellow.
Chicken soup for the soul, right there, baby.
Hey, you're a gentleman and a scholar, man. I don't care what anybody says.
Campbell's good.
Oprah's book list, baby. Come join us.
Hey, don't hate on those chicken soup for the soul books, man. I used to read the heck out of those.
I read them all, dude. Teenage Chicken Soup for the Soul.
That's why you're such.
That's why you're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like, all right, Teenage Mutant Ninja Campbell soups, recipes.
Rest in peace.
What was it? Was it like the 7 bad habits or something like that?
Oh yeah, I got that one.
I got one bad habit going on right now. Anyways. What's up, guys? Damn, I missed you. Chris, Marshall, Greg, man. Y'all are the people, man. How are you guys
doing? Use our government names.
Yeah, man.
Steve, Maggie, Greg, and Marsh.
The best that ever was. I ain't got no money and the C-Rad. I don't know. I need to find a better nickname for you, Mr. McCall.
You're good.
Call him Sinbad.
Your government name is good enough for me.
Young Sinbad.
Young Sinbad.
No. Hey, Daniel, that's Donovan Mitchell right there.
Young Simba.
I didn't know we were in the presence of greatness. Hey, Mr. Donovan Mitchell, what do you think about Shaq blatantly disrespecting you the other day?
It's okay. That's what they've been saying to me for my rookie year. It's okay.
That's the right answer. Right. What do you guys think about that? I was actually reading an article about that the other day. I'm sorry to go off topic, but I was reading an article about that the other day about how
You're good. Keep going. Because I did want to bring that up. Thank you for reminding me.
I'm sorry. I was just reading that article and they were talking about how these old cats and LeBron took special offense to it. We've never really seen that before. It seems like I've seen Shaq do it several times and Barkley this season to some of these younger guys. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, it's just two different eras, you know. A lot of guys now think that some of these young guys are soft. I mean, a lot of the older guys think the young guys are soft because back in older guys' era, you know, somebody says something to you, you kind of take it, you know, you want to have a big chest and then you go out and perform better. Nowadays, with social media and everything, you know, guys can tweet at you, this, that, and the other. They don't say it right to you. And so you can just have a war of words. Everybody's bold these days, you know, because it's on social media. It's not like somebody's going to come up.
But this wasn't even on social media. This was on a straight up interview.
It was on a straight up interview, but I'm just talking about them even before, like they would sometimes say stuff on social media. Like obviously, you know about Shaq and the whole JaVale McGee thing, with the whole war of words with that. But I mean, he did say it straight up to Donovan Mitchell. I mean, Shaq's not afraid of, you know.
No, I remember they were saying the same things to my boy Paul George.
350. You're not afraid of nothing, really.
Yeah. They were saying the same thing to Paul George the first game of the season. I remember.
Yeah.
And Paul George just kind of laughed at him, and now he's throwing up 25, 30 points a game. You know, playoff peak.
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win for Shaq because you think about it. Okay, so he tells Donovan Mitchell that Donovan Mitchell never wins. Shaq was like, "I told you the truth.
Yeah,
I saw what I saw."
But if
if Donovan Mitchell wins, then Shaq's like, "Well, he used it as motivation. I gave him the motivation he needed to win." So it's a good move by Shaq.
Yeah, I agree. Wanting to see these young players play better, because sometimes that's all they need is a motivation. Like, because I think that's the thing too. Shaq's kind of like, he's saying it because he's telling the truth, and the young guys, they do think about stuff like that.
Sure.
And moving forward, he's like, okay.
But I would ask Mr. Chris McCullough, aka Donovan Mitchell, same thing. He's probably been thinking about that since his rookie year, right? I mean, like he said, people have been saying that he don't need no extra motivation. That's just falling on deaf ears to him, right, Mr. McCullough?
We can all use a little bit more motivation. You know, if you look at LeBron probably wouldn't have gone to as many finals if everyone was just like, he's the king. He's better than Michael Jordan already without winning a title. If he didn't have people ragging on him, he would have accepted it, probably would have stayed in Cleveland maybe, and just accepted losing day in and day out. If everybody was ragging on him, he needs to get this next title. He needs to get this next title. And now he's at the point where he's like, I've done everything you said, and I'm still not better. That's on you. But I still think that there's like a small voice in his head that's like, dude, you got to win this next one. You got to win this next one. And those are always part of the greats and part of like you have to make up a situation that's not in your favor to be great.
You saw Jordan's Hall of Fame speech. Like, Byron Russell told me he couldn't guard me, so I came back and won.
He went after everybody during that speech.
So,
true.
Those type of winners, those have like a little something wrong with them. They remember everything. They use everything as a bit of like a motivation.
Yeah, you have to be the Tiger Woods of the world, the Muhammad Ali's of the world, the Kobe Bryant's of the world.
Shaq made up a lie saying David Robinson disrespected him as a kid. Like,
I always thought that was true.
Yeah, I did it too. True. I was like, did he really? And then he came out when they had their little old heads only Zoom meeting. He said, "Oh, bad, dude, that wasn't true."
I was like, "Dang, you lying on the Admiral like that, bro?"
Have you guys ever heard? I was reading an article probably a couple years back about Michael Jordan, and it was like the making of Space Jam, right? And how he had in his contract a basketball court built on the lot, and so there was a who's who of NBA players and college players, and they just had one games going all the time, right? And there was this guy he wasn't good enough in the NBA at the time, so he was playing overseas, and he was in town, so they invited him to one of the games, and his team beat Michael. He was the one guarding Michael during the game, and he goes, yeah, he's like, Michael came up to me after the game. He's like, hey man, he's like, I hope you can make it next week. I really, blah blah blah. Hope you can make it. And he's like, I got a big old smile. He's like, I thought Michael Jordan actually wanted me to show back up again. He's like, hell no. He's like, he just wanted me to come back so he could beat me and shut me up. He's like, that's the next time it came. He's like, I didn't even touch the ball. And he's like, come to find out, he's like, he just wanted to beat me to prove that he was better than me. That's all.
Yeah. That's what Jordan did. I mean, that's why I'm telling you. That's why that man is still the greatest of all time.
You hear stories
Yes,
about him in college, just like with roommates, like he'll like if he lost in foosball, he'd play you for the next hours until he won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or a game Monopoly. Like there's this stuff he would just the ultimate competitor.
Yeah. And you have to be a little like you said, a little
off.
screws loose in order to be the greatest of all time, because they're it's like saying the people that truly believe that they're the greatest or that they're going to change the world usually do. I mean, the people that are crazy enough to say that, you have to be.
Agree. Well, we want to move into a remembrance. A year ago, we lost the great Kobe Bryant and Gigi Bryant and the others that were on that helicopter going to practice. And it's still surreal to a lot of us. Like, Kobe's gone. Like, you know what I mean? And it just, the way it all happened, obviously turned out to be a really cruddy 2020. I don't think anybody's gonna be like 2020 was great, But I wanted to ask you guys, to give me your greatest moment that you saw with Kobe, your greatest game or quote or something, of that sort. And C-Mac, I want to let you go first.
All right. So basically, for me, in Amin's new album, he said it best, or somebody who said it best in Amin's album. It was like when Kobe passed away, kind of took a part of your childhood with him, right? And so I'm like thinking back, like that was like kind of the message that I've got from it and my perspective. And it's kind of like, I remember all those times that the Spurs and the Phoenix Suns would play against Kobe into the Western Conference Finals, semifinals. I mean, just like sometimes we couldn't beat him, and it was always up for like a jumper and just jumpers, and it was just like, dude, like, why can't we beat him? And then he had Robert Horry, and then it was just crazy. And I think it was just always, when it came to the playoffs, it was like, we've got to beat Kobe, and that's the only way we can get to the finals. If we can beat Kobe or somebody else beats Kobe, then we can get to the finals. And that's one memory I have of Kobe. It's just like, that was almost like Jordan-esque. It was like the only person in your way of winning a championship is that one man, Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. So that's my memory.
I like it. Mr. Daniel.
All right, man. So my story, actually, I knew this was coming up with the pod, so I wanted to come up with something special. And if you guys don't mind, I want to read a little excerpt of a story that I found. It was interesting. After he passed, stories just abound. And I found it on a cool Reddit post that shared a bunch of unknown at the time Kobe stories, and they just started coming out of the woodwork. If you guys don't mind, I kind of want to read a piece of one from a guy who worked at Kobe's camp for a good little while. And this really hit me hard, and this really kind of explains what type of person Kobe was. So I'm just going to kind of read exactly what he wrote. And he basically says, they said, I had the privilege of being a coach at Kobe's basketball camp every summer for 5 years. So a lot of players have branded summer camps, but Kobe wasn't a guy who would put his name on a camp logo, show up once and cash his check. He would show up daily, sometimes for the 8 a.m. greeting to address the 700 plus kids in the gym, and was a constant presence throughout the week. That he'd interrupt drills to make sure 8-year-olds were running the triangle offense properly. He'd walk through team practices, pulling kids aside to give them tips on their jab step. One time I saw him tell a kid, that was a lazy pass. And for the rest of the week, the kid passed the ball so hard his teammates could barely catch it. The younger kids wanted to hear a word he said. They were in shock that an actual God was speaking to them. But you could see in some of the older kids' eyes that anytime Kobe was nearby, something switched. They moved a little quicker, played a little harder, like some higher level had just been found. One year at camp, I had a 10-year-old Japanese girl on my team who didn't speak a word of English, yet still was the only person on the team to grasp the concept of help defense. Kobe was walking by one afternoon, saw her take a perfect charge, and got so excited he ran onto the court and gave her a high five during the game. He stayed and cheered for her the rest of the game. She ended up taking at least 20 more charges that week, was the biggest hustler on the team, and got awarded best defense for our division. She also couldn't stop smiling and saying Kobe high-fived me after that day. So another year, I saw him get challenged by a gangly young white kid who walked straight up to him and said, "Bet you can't beat me," on the white Mamba. Later that day, while speaking to the entire crowd of kids in the gym, Kobe called that boy out to center court, played him one-on-one, and with all 700-plus campers watching, beat the kid 5-0. Then one year, after the kids had gone to bed, a few of us were shooting around in the gym with Kobe. The side door opened, and we saw Lil Bow Wow walk in, unannounced, with a backpack full of cash. He threw out a challenge. He wanted to play Kobe one-on-one for $1,000. Kobe let Bow Wow start the game up 10-0, then proceeded to play harder than anyone I've ever seen at any level. It didn't look like he was playing one-on-one with the 5'7" rapper of shorty like mine. It felt like he was playing for a championship. Kobe scored 11 straight points, took the stack of cash, turned to us coaches, and said, "Give this to my people." I got handed $100 and immediately bought new Kobe's. So the last year at camp, we had our photo session. Coaches each got their own pic with Kobe. I could tell he was tired from the day-long photo shoot. When he yawned and said, "What's up, B?" So I walked over. I said, "Man, we've been getting the same photo for 5 years. Can we mix it up?" I said, hoping I could find a way to get a laugh out of this overworked, exhausted dude who gave so much to the camp every year. He chuckled and said, "Let's do it." Then immediately cocked his head to the side, crossed his eyes, and as if he hadn't done enough already, made everyone in the room burst out laughing. To this day, makes me smile every time I see it. Man, it almost makes me tear up just reading that. Just a dude that, man, that he didn't have to, but he literally gave everything to everybody and every time he was around. And it's crazy, like you said, it both seems so long ago since he passed, and just like yesterday at the same exact time. But I'm sure every single one of us in this podcast has been, moved by him in some way or had him in our life in some way. You guys are Spurs fans. We all know the battles that he had with the Spurs. They're legendary, but he's touched us all in some way, and it's amazing the outpouring of respect and adoration for an athlete that we don't realize until it's gone. You know what I mean? How much he actually meant to us, and it's just cool, man. Reading all the stories, and I felt I had to read that one to you guys because I think you would respect it. Just a great dude, man. Just all around will be missed and still is missed. And I hear stories about him, seems like weekly, from friends who will never forget. Not to mention, every single time I throw a paper towel in the waste bin, I always yell at Kobe. Respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolute respect, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. There's a lot of stories for sure that we've heard, about Kobe and, just how great of a person that he was and how much he gave back. He wasn't a selfish person. He was a very selfless person. You know what I mean? So, Greg.
Not really, never was really a big Kobe guy, but you got to respect somebody that's willing to put it on the line and push himself towards greatness, and that work ethic. Just something you just got to respect as somebody. Like, you just see that and you just respect it. A couple things about Kobe. Obviously, he took Moesha to prom. That was kind of the big thing. The Boy Is Mine was kind of a good track at the time. It was popping. Afro Kobe was my favorite Kobe, probably. And he had the bad Adidas shoes. That's probably my best Kobe. The ball fake from Matt Barnes, classic. Him shooting his free throws with his Achilles torn, and then his final game just going out. That's how you want as any player you root for, any great player, just to have a moment in the sun one more time before it's gone.
Mamba out, right?
Yeah. And the most heartbreaking thing is just, hearing that him and his daughter just, that was probably the most soul-sucking part of the whole situation, is that, a father and a daughter that, that he devoted his time, and it just really, that was just really heartbreaking hearing that.
Yeah. I'm going to approach this first off by starting. I remember the very day of hearing his passing. Like, it was crazy because I at first I didn't believe it, right? I didn't believe it at all. And growing up, I mean, obviously me being a Spurs fan, I was just like, man, I'm not a big Kobe fan, you know, like I respected his game because he was good, you know, he were great, you know what I mean? But I wasn't like, I wouldn't root for him. And obviously towards the end of his career, just the way it kind of went down for him and me learning more about basketball and, you know, him more, like I had a greater respect, you know, for him. So for me, I have three really big takeaways. Number one, like Kobe was for a guy that only graduated high school, how smart, book smart, wise this guy was. I mean, he knew I don't know how many languages, literally learned Slovenian at one of the games when the Lakers were playing the Mavs just to trash talk Luka Doncic. He learned French. He could trash talk to Tony Parker. I think he learned. I don't know. I want to say he learned some German. He would trash talk with Dirk. I mean, he was just the ultimate competitor, but he was very very smart and knowledgeable guy. So that's number one. His work ethic was, you know, that Mamba mentality. You know, it's like something we had never seen outside of like maybe Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Like he was he was different. You know, um, the fact that he hit game winners over like three people. You know what I mean? Just and how iconic that was. You know, um, obviously some people are like, well, he took a lot of his moves from Michael Jordan. You know, some say he did them even better. I'm just like, yeah, he did. He really worked at his craft. You could tell that it wasn't like, all right, I'm just playing basketball. Then when I have my off time, I'm done. I'm not thinking about that. No, he was on it every single day. You know, even until he retired. So when he retired, I think that was one of the greatest things too, that he won an Oscar. The dude won an Oscar for his children's book, Dear Basketball. Like that, how many NBA or any retired athletes at all go on to write a book and win an Oscar for that?
He's the only
Very
one.
few.
He's the only one.
Yeah, probably.
He's the only one. Like how he's like how astounding, amazing, astonishing. Like there's not enough words to for me to even say how much respect I have for Kobe Bryant. I mean, he's missed, but he'll forever be in people's hearts. The outpour and love for him, from around the world, global icon, like bigger than you know Jordan, bigger than even LeBron. You know what I mean? Like Kobe he was loved. He was loved by everybody, man. Whether you hated him for being with the Lakers, like you still loved him, for what he did for everybody, and being a girl dad, trying to advocate for women's basketball, bringing that up, bringing attention to the women's basketball. I honestly think if he wanted to, he could have been a women's WNBA coach or something if he wanted to do it. But obviously, he was like, I'm just I walked away. I'm left everything on the court. So just major respects to Kobe, and again, condolences to his family and close friends. Man, it was a tough loss, but he's gone, but he's never forgotten.
I remember a couple of days after he passed, there was a cool article by Jackie McMillan, and she was talking about how, speaking of girl dad and everything, that when she was pregnant, they said after his career, everybody had their opinions on Kobe's career, but I don't think anybody can have anything bad to say about what Kobe did after basketball, right? I wasn't the greatest Kobe fan as he was playing. Yes, he was one of my first idols growing up, but I always thought of him as kind of a ball hog, right? He was kind of like Allen Iverson, just a stat guy. I got a true respect of him after he left. And Jackie McMillan starts talking about how when she was pregnant, Kobe actually used to call her and he would always reach out to her. Hey, how's the baby? This and that. He remembered everything, every one of their conversations, everything she ever told him, who, hit her husband's name, anything. And he would call. And I remember Jackie McMillan said, after Kobe, when I first found out the news, I texted Michael Jordan to see what he had thought. And I'm thinking, like, how many people? This is how you know a journalist is great, right? How many people could have a personal relationship with Kobe Bryant, and then when they pass, text the other one of the other greatest basketball players of all time to see what they thought about it. Like, that's cool right there. That's how you know you're kind of in the know. And I just thought it was cool. Like, so much after basketball, I rever Kobe for not necessarily what he did during basketball. When you talk about his game winners, he actually had the lowest percentage of all time for game winners, but nobody remembers that, and they shouldn't, right? They remember what he made,
right?
They remember the shots he made, the great moments.
Phoenix,
but just like Jordan, how many times has he missed a game winner in his career and he had a commercial about it? Nobody cares about that.
Right.
All they care about is if you give your best, if you try, if you put yourself out there, and you give every ounce of yourself. And I think Kobe did in his 43, 42.
Yeah, they remember the iconic moments, the shot on Elo, the shot on Byron Russell, those kind of moments. Those live on forever.
Kobe jumping into Shaq's arms, Kobe throwing the alley-oop
on Trailblazers.
Yeah, Shaq.
No, that's it. Because greatness.
He built up with Gasol and
beating the Celtics.
Beating the Celtics. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there was just a lot. So, but I wanted to kind of segue that into one of the games from the NBA last night. LeBron, now being 36 years old, right? He dropped 46 points last night in the Cavs. He was the oldest or the first one to do this, be a 36-year-old and drop that many points since Kobe's final game. And I thought that was, I thought that was really cool.
I was going back over my text messages. You guys will like this. Earlier when I was looking for a Kobe story to talk about, and me and my buddy were talking, and they said the speech that LeBron gave during Kobe's remembrance. He said LeBron finally became a Laker last night, or he became a Laker officially that night when he gave that speech. Do you guys think that was true?
I mean, that's on Lakers fans and Laker Nation. If they want to accept LeBron, that's their choice. If they don't, that's their choice. I don't.
As an outside observer, is LeBron a Laker? Is LeBron a Laker officially?
I mean, I think
just LeBron.
I think he'll always.
LeBron is LeBron, but is he going to be? Can he be put on Jerry West, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Is he a Laker great?
I mean, a lot of people are saying that, laying your all-time Laker greats, and they're putting him in there. I always look at him as being a Cleveland guy because that's where he played the majority of his career. To me, he was always, a Cleveland great. Even though he won 2 titles with Miami, D Wade is a Miami great. You know what I mean? I don't go at Bosh. I can look at Bosh as being a Miami great, even though he started out with Toronto, but he spent most of his career later, then in Miami. So, I mean, he's plays for the Lakers, don't get me wrong, but to say, oh, he's one of the Laker greatest of all time, like he's one of the greatest of all time, but I can't say he's the Laker greatest of all time.
I think Marshall hit on the head, right? Grew up in Akron, stayed there for his NBA career, a lot of his NBA career. And that's kind of where his roots and his heart is, right?
Oh, for sure. But, I mean, I don't think if you say he's a Laker, that means he's not a Cavalier either, right?
Right. But I do want to say this at the same time because Daniel, it does bring up a point. Kareem came and played with the Lakers kind of towards the end of his career, and he's one of the greatest all times, and they put him as being one of the greatest Lakers of all times too. So
which I agree with.
Right. But Kareem played with them for what?
The better part of a decade, right?
I think so.
He was on the Bucks.
Look that one up for me because he started off with the Bucks.
Yeah.
Look that one up for me. How long Kareem played? Because LeBron more than likely will stay with the Lakers for.
Well, so Kareem played with the Bucks for 6 years.
He only played
and then
15 years with the Lakers.
Yeah. So I mean, 6 years with the Bucks and 14 with the Lakers. So
Okay,
he should be. Yeah.
So I take that back. So yeah, he would be a Laker great. I mean, Magic spent his whole career with the Lakers. Another Laker great. Shaq started out in Orlando, but went to the Lakers for what, 5 years, something like that, 5 or 6 years. And some people still kind of don't necessarily put him as one of the Laker greats. Some do. I mean, he has a statue.
He had 8 years, 8 seasons with the Lakers, so that was the most he's been on one team. So
okay, so in that regard, and I thought it was only 6, so my apologies. In that regard, like, you can put those guys. LeBron will probably only spend 4 or 5 years as a Laker. You know what I mean? If it were 7 or 8, like Kareem and Kobe and Shaq and Magic, then I would say, yeah, you could put him, but I don't think you can put him as being one of the Laker greats of all time.
What if he 3-peats?
Even
or
if
4-peats?
Even if he does that, like,
he's in if he 4-peats.
If he
This
4,
year?
if
That'd be wild.
if he 4-peats, he's the greatest basketball player ever, point blank and period, because that's something Michael Jordan never did, and then he'll have surpassed Michael Jordan in rings.
True.
Can't argue that. Now, if he
that's actually a very important ring right there. Actually, that if he gets to that point, if he wins this year, next year,
yeah,
2020, it'd be 2023.
Yeah. So look,
if
he wins this year, which I think that they will, that's 2 in a row. If you win the following year for that 3-peat, the argument becomes here between him and Jordan. If you win that 4th one, you're definitely supplanting him as the greatest of all time. 4 in a row, and winning the final MVP every single time, I'm sure that he will win the final MVP every single time.
And he would be about 37 years old at that point, right?
No, if he wins the 4-peat, he'll be like
38,
39.
Yeah. I mean,
there's nothing else to talk about. Like, I will then give him his respect and say he's the greatest player of all time. If he 3-peats, it's close. You can make an argument. I'll still say I'll give Jordan the slight, because the dude retired and came back and won 3 more rings. Like, but he never won 4 times.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you'll always have the argument. Everybody, no matter how many rings LeBron wins, there always will be that argument.
Yeah, but for me, he wins 4 in a row. Yeah, you supplant, because he went to.
But he's already won. I mean, granted, Magic or Michael only played on 2 teams. He's already won the title with 3 different teams.
He has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's done something that Michael hasn't. So I mean, all of these guys will have done something that each other hasn't, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's true, but shoot, Danny Green has won titles on 3 different teams. You know what I'm saying? So
the whole Jordan thing is just hard. It's a legacy. It's a brand. Mm-hmm. It's in the zeitgeist of, you just accept that Jordan's the greatest.
Yeah.
It's just a really hard sum for some people to
but
get
the
over.
Fact that LeBron is in that argument says a hell of a lot of, excuse the French, says a heck of a lot about LeBron, right?
A hell of a lot,
sure.
all the time. But no, I agree. And for a while, like, if LeBron won last year, I mean, I was still arguing that Kobe was better than him. Now I'm like, okay, I might have to give it to LeBron to edge Kobe. Even though ESPN's top 10 don't even have Kobe or Shaq. They have him at 9 and 10, under Tim Duncan and Larry Bird, which I still think is blasphemous. But
that's somewhat right. I put Kobe and Tim Duncan next to each other.
Yeah.
But under
I don't know how to rank Shaq. I don't know how to rank Shaq.
But under Larry Bird?
I never saw Larry Bird play. I was never alive. So
higher than Larry Bird or lower than Larry Bird?
They're lower than Larry Bird.
So
Larry Bird is number 7 all time. Duncan is 8. Kobe was 9 and Shaq was 10. That's what they have it ranked for ESPN's top 10 players of all time.
Larry Legend. I'm sorry, we're not old enough to be able to know the legend of Larry Bird, of the Hick from French Lick. I'm sorry. I've seen documentaries. I've read a ton about him. Even I'm not old enough to really understand how great Larry was. But everything I've read, Larry was.
He's a very good scorer. I've seen a couple of games. I've seen a couple of games of his.
Yeah, I mean, you see the highlight tapes. I mean, you could see.
I agree that Larry was.
We didn't see his whole career like we saw Shaq's, like we saw Tim Duncan's, like we saw all these guys.
That's why I try to stay away from all-time lists and just go by generation that I saw that I can judge.
But that's the only reason why I'm saying what I'm saying, because if you're gonna even talk about that, I could argue we could put Grant Hill and T-Mac up there for what, even though they didn't win championships, how great. I'm not saying up there with them.
They're on the what if all-time team. Absolutely.
Yeah, what if all-time
him team. And Penny Hardaway.
Right. But I'm just saying, they didn't win championships, but I could make an argument for putting them higher because of the shorter time that they had to play. Derrick Rose as well. There's arguments there. Obviously, I'm not going to put them up there with champions at one, but that's one of the reasons why.
I don't even think it's the championships, though. I mean, Larry Bird, outside of the championships, what he did, it has to be up there. I would put him up.
Him and Magic get a lot of credit for being the persons that bring NBA to what it is now, like starting NBA. They get a lot of respect for that because it was built.
Even the championship game between him and Magic, Indiana State versus Michigan State, right, was like the stuff of legend.
Yeah,
I remember watching a documentary about that and watching the game. It was like it had this whole mythos behind it. Those two brought basketball to what Michael Jordan took it above and beyond anything anybody's ever seen, like what Tiger Woods did with golf. But Magic Johnson, Larry Bird are responsible for even getting it to the point to where Jordan could take it. Because back when they first got into the NBA, they were tape delaying finals games. They didn't even play them live on TV. They were tape delaying.
And I mean, like in the top four, I think Bill Russell was like number 4 or something like that. And, with all his rings, and I think Kareem was like number 3. And then LeBron was sitting at number 2. And they had Jordan at number 1. Magic was sitting right outside the top 5 at number 5. So, I mean, in their eyes, Magic doesn't even make the Mount Rushmore of basketball in that case, and I'm just like, different era with Bill Russell.
Who, Dr. Strange?
I'm about to say Dr.
Let's go.
He does got the rings. He does have the rings.
Yeah, Bill Russell definitely has the rings. And I mean,
I was talking about Dr. Strange.
That's the Mandarin that got the rings. But anyway, we sidetracked. Let's get back to talking. We were going to talk NBA. I just wanted to throw that LeBron stat out there because I thought it was really interesting. But I want to talk right now, the reason why we have Mr. Cutman here himself, about that UFC 257, Poirier McGregor.
I'm not here just to change the subject, ladies and gentlemen, and just sidetrack everything. I like to do that too.
Sidetrack Jones.
Sidetrack Jones. I hear people with glasses like to sidetrack a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, that's blasphemous. All right. People with glasses are Chris, you know this.
Yes, exactly. I'm looking at you.
Sophisticated sirs.
I can't see you without my glasses, but I'm looking right at you.
Always on some shenanigans.
Is it Sir Daniel and Sir Chris? Come on.
Hey, you know what you're getting when you get me on here. You might not know what's going on half the time. You might get a rant. You might get a couple different things, but you know what you're getting when I come on.
Dude, so we even get a light in the face from the beginning. Good. Next,
yeah.
I was trying
Daniel.
I was trying to shine my light on you guys.
Archangel Daniel.
He was blinded by the light.
I was like, bro, I started taking my pulse. I'm like, am I good? Is this it?
Hey,
is it for me?
It was like an angel came down from heaven and blessed you guys with this.
This is the way I'm going to go. This is what I'm going to look at the last time I die. This is what it is going to be like.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you see that shine going on right now? UFC
257, man. I mean, we can start off with the main event. Poirier McGregor.
Why not?
Yo, I was surprised. Let me say this. I wasn't necessarily shocked because coming out, I originally said McGregor needs to respond well after the first round because Poirier is going to come at him pretty hard, which he did. And McGregor seemed to respond okay. But in the second round, Poirier just shifted on him, got him in that corner, and just started railing on him, man, and eventually caught him. And because he took McGregor's legs away in the first round, he took him down and, kicked him in the leg to take away his stance ability, his guarding ability, because McGregor is a striker. So by doing that, I mean, he did his research. He did his research and executed, a pretty good fight. So hats off to Poirier, man. Obviously, I didn't see it going, just 2 rounds. I thought it would at least maybe hit the 4th round before we saw some action. But Poirier did his damn thing.
That was your prediction, right? You had 4th round KO by McGregor.
TKO by McGregor. I did. Get the button.
What button? Go ahead.
Nope. That's cash money.
I got half of mine right. I did say Poirier by KO. I did say originally 3rd round, then I switched to the 4th round. So I was like you. I thought it was going to go a little bit longer. I thought he would wait. He wouldn't be able to catch him until Conor got a little bit more tired. Yes. Great fight, man. I mean, I'm really happy that Poirier got the win. I think he deserved it. I think people were underestimating how good he has gotten since he lost to Conor McGregor the last time. The original fight only went 2 minutes.
33. Sheesh.
Yeah, and he's and take a look at a list of his victims now. He has knocked out both Justin Gaethje and Conor McGregor. He's beaten Max Holloway and the guy who Michael Chandler just beat earlier in, God, what the heck is his name? It's gonna be lost on me. Dan Hooker. He's beat both of them. He lost to Khabib, which everybody loses to Khabib, right? But he's probably got the 2nd best resume in lightweight history outside of Khabib.
Yeah,
he's beaten everybody. And people were underestimating. Conor McGregor has this mythos about him, right? He's like the Michael Jordan of the MMA world. People love to pick Conor McGregor, even if they don't really know what they're talking about. Who's going to win this week? I talked to so many. No, Greg, you know what you're talking about, though.
I have no idea.
I talked to a lot of people this week who were just like, Conor McGregor is going to win, and I'm like, no, Poirier. And I'd say this. I make my money, Greg. This is for you. I make my money when Conor McGregor fights. Last time I made a grand. I made a grand when Khabib beat him. Some guy wanted to bet 1,000. So I said, all right, cool, let's do it. And then I made $100 on this last fight. People love to bet on Conor McGregor because they don't know, they just know the mythos behind him, right? But Dustin Poirier, man, has probably improved even more so than Conor did since their first fight. And he showed it. He wasn't scared. He looked a little bit off at the very, very beginning. He looked like overwhelmed. Holy shit. All right. Holy moly, I'm fighting Conor McGregor.
It's already gone, dog. It's already gone.
Language.
So you can see the doe eyes. You can see his doe eyes just a little bit at the very beginning. But once he got hit, he even said it himself. I had to stop myself. I was getting a little crazy in there, right? So I didn't want to get too wild. But that's what Dustin Poirier does. He is just like Justin Gaethje. He is just like Max Holloway. Once you punch him, that's when the fight starts.
Yeah.
And Conor McGregor could not put him away early. That's why I didn't agree with you in your assessment of a 4th round KO. Conor doesn't knock people out late. He knocks people out early. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't get them in his original, kind of first couple rounds, it usually doesn't happen. But I don't know, man. I think Conor's going to come back from this. It's always good when he's at the top. It's fun. It makes MMA fun. But I'm really happy for Dustin Poirier. I think he deserves this more than anybody. He needs to get the respect of the top, of being one of the top lightweights in the world. I mean, the dude's a big dude. I don't see anybody really beating him at lightweight for the foreseeable future. He's already beat Gaethje, who's among the top 4. He's already beat Conor, which he'll set up a trilogy. I want to talk about that in a minute.
Ooh. Threesome.
Who's going to beat him?
Well,
what did you say, Greg?
I said trilogy.
Well, I will say this. Yes, he did beat Gaethje the first. He knocked him out, right? Since then, Gaethje has risen, and he got the shot, obviously, to fight Nurmagomedov. Obviously, lost, got choked out. I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch between Gaethje and Poirier, which we may end up seeing for the lightweight title if Khabib decides he doesn't want to come back and fight. If not, I think Poirier should get a shot against Khabib again. I mean, he may not win. We obviously get that, but I think he should get a shot. Uh, if not, Gaethje. His next fight obviously needs to be for the lightweight title.
You know what's interesting is he said he didn't want that.
Interesting. Yeah. Hey, now question, because I only saw a slight bit of this, and I don't know who he was talking to, but I know Nate Diaz said something about I'm gonna beat you next. Was he talking to Poirier or was he talking to McGregor? Because
I couldn't tell you. Half of what Diaz says sounds like slurs to me. So I couldn't really tell you. I think he was talking to both of them at the same time. I'm not really sure. He was talking to whoever's going to back up the Briggs truck for him.
Right. It almost sounded like he was talking to Poirier, and I'm like, that would be an interesting fight too. I think Poirier would get him.
I don't think Diaz deserves that fight.
Fair.
I mean, Poirier, this is the thing. How he needs his respect. Chris, you're a fight fan. You've had some fantastic takes in the past. What do you think about this, man?
Give me my respect.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Who the fuck is that guy?
I can't see without my glasses.
It's interesting. I don't know, man. I don't think Khabib's coming back. So I think they're gonna give. I mean, this fight was really, really the championship belt, because I don't think Khabib's coming back, and then Poirier is gonna get the title, right? You know.
I don't think this was the championship bout
it wasn't.
I think
it was a semifinal. It was a semifinal match.
To fight who?
Gaethje.
To fight who in the championship? Gaethje?
Gaethje or Michael Chandler. We haven't talked about him, which we need to talk about that co-main event.
Too.
They had Gaethje ranked number 1 though, right?
Yeah, Gaethje's ranked the number 1.
Gaethje is ranked number 1, but
he lost to the champion, which I'm saying he deserves probably another fight for the vacant spot. But go ahead. Well, other than Chandler.
So it's gonna be Poirier versus Gaethje for the title fight, right? Let's say that's the case.
Possibly, or what Daniel was saying.
You got Charles Oliveira, who just destroyed Tony Ferguson. You have Justin Gaethje.
No, I wouldn't give Oliveira a shot yet.
Okay, hold on. Let me finish this statement.
Okay.
You got Justin Gaethje. You got Charles Oliveira. You got Dustin Poirier, and then now you got Michael Chandler. You got four guys right here, plus Conor McGregor waiting in the wings. You got 4 guys. You have a legit semifinal. Do you make a championship match right now, or do you say, hey, we got a 4-man playoff for the belt?
First of all, McGregor does not deserve another title fight. Like he needs to fight a couple of people before should get a shot at that title. Period. Like
I agree.
That was bad.
He should, but
What I'm saying, if he makes the trilogy with Poirier, depending on how he does in these next couple of fights, I will say, all right, he might deserve a title fight because he obviously wants to fight a lot this year. You know what I mean? So We'll see how he looks, because this could be. And I believe it was Stephen A. Smith that mentioned this today, and I liked, or not today, the other day, and I liked what he said. It's like McGregor is in that stage. It was either him or Max. He said McGregor wants to win, but these guys that he's fighting need to win. Like Poirier needs to win to get his respect, like you were saying, Daniel. So I'm just kind of like, and saying that McGregor needs to get more fights in his belt. They need to drop him probably to about 7 or so and let him work his way back up before he gets another shot at the title. That's what I think.
To me, I really don't care at all about the rankings. They mean nothing to me, and I think they mean nothing to Dana White as well. They should mean something, but they really just don't. That's just the way it is in the UFC. Here's what I think needs to happen. Dustin Poirier, and I'm going to shout out Michael Chandler. I'm going to talk about the co-main event real quick. Michael Chandler, for those of you who don't know, he came over from where he was the champion for a long time there. One of the lone guys who never signed with the UFC, but always known as one of the best lightweight fighters out there, outside of the grasp of the UFC. So he gets signed. He finally has his first fight against an absolute killer who just fought Dustin Poirier, and Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker could scrap, right? I thought it was, and I told you guys right before this, I thought it was going to be a scrap. Michael Chandler disposed of him in less than a round, made him look absolutely foolish. Nobody's ever done that to Dan Hooker, not even Poirier. I think Michael Chandler deserves a title shot. I think it's going to be Chandler versus Poirier for the title, then Gaethje versus Oliveira for the number one contender spot.
Okay.
Give McGregor the trilogy with Diaz at 170, 155, whatever. If he wins that, then he fights the loser of Oliveira versus Gaethje for the next title shot.
Okay.
That's
like,
possible. Go ahead.
I was just saying that's what I got. I can't see them not giving Michael Chandler the title shot after what he did. He deserves it. I mean, he's pretty damn good. I don't see what else you could do if Khabib doesn't come back.
They wouldn't give Gaethje and Chandler?
No, because Gaethje hasn't fought since Khabib. So Gaethje needs one more fight.
Okay.
I just don't see them putting Gaethje, who lost his last fight, against Poirier straight away for the title. I know it's been done before, but I don't see them giving the title shot coming off of a loss. It's just not a good look. Unless it's from McGregor. They'll do that coming off 2 losses. But I don't know. That's my take.
Any other comments, C-Mac or Greg, or C-Mac or G-Reg?
Spot on, my guy. Spot on. I definitely don't think Gaethje is going to get a title fight, especially after that loss. And, Michael Chandler looked pretty damn good. I was surprised because I heard they're like, yeah, he's not really signed and this is his first real fight in UFC. I was like, I think this guy might win, and proved it right. I would love to see that title fight though, Poirier versus Chandler.
He looked really good. Chandler's an all-American wrestler. He's an all-world wrestler. Yeah. I immediately texted my buddy Crispy, who you guys have, he's been on the podcast before. I said, could this guy do anything to Khabib? He's the only one that hasn't fought Khabib. And he said, Khabib kills him, crushes him, no contest. So honestly, I mean, what's that?
Go ahead.
Continue.
Did you say continue or Kenny?
Continue.
I'm sorry. That was all I had to say. I said he just said Khabib crushes him. So maybe it's better if Khabib doesn't come back. Because we'll have.
Would you put Khabib comes back at?
10.
10.
I honestly would not be surprised if what Dana said was kind of a fib when he said, oh yeah, basically he said, Khabib said, I'll come back if one of these guys does something amazing. I think that's just like everybody says, oh, Khabib's holding up the division. He doesn't know if he's coming back or not. Khabib stated he's retired.
Yeah.
Dana White is the only one that has basically came out and said like, oh yeah, I don't want him to retire. So it's Dana White holding the division up, not Khabib. Khabib is strong in his words, and I don't doubt that he would love to get 30-0. But why does he need to come back?
There's no reason.
Who would he fight at this point? Does he fight Michael Chandler? Does he beat Poirier again? Who does he fight? There's no right answer to that to me.
I mean, he hasn't fought Chandler yet, right? But
no.
He would probably destroy him.
I think Chandler would have a good shot against GSP. My buddy said no chance, but I think he's a little bit better than Gaethje at both areas, at wrestling and stand-up. I think it's not out of the realm of possibility.
So here's what I would say. If you're talking about who would come back, I like the Gaethje Oliveira that you're talking about for the number one contender. If Khabib is like, all right, I want to stay, Poirier and Chandler should fight to go to fight Khabib next.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm thinking Poirier has grown since he fought Khabib last. Chandler's up and coming. They haven't fought yet. depending on who wins out of those two, you give him a shot at Khabib if Khabib wants to come back.
So Poirier is showing enough in his fight against Duffy and McGregor to show that it would be different if he fought Khabib again.
I think it would. He's grown, but I think he needs to be the guy like Chandler who is a threat, and it also helps Chandler be like, all right, you might actually have a shot because Gaethje just lost. Oliveira has no shot against Khabib, as we know.
Ooh, now see, this is where I disagree.
Oh, spice.
Okay.
Because you automatically said Oliveira like didn't have a shot, blah blah. Didn't really think he was even amongst the title contenders. Based on his previous resume, even before the Tony Ferguson fight, I thought he has supremely well-rounded skills. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is fantastic. He is an unorthodox fighter in the same vein as Tony Ferguson, but he hits hard. And then as you see the Tony Ferguson fight, destroyed him even more and finished him quicker than Justin Gaethje. Now, I don't like MMA math as much as the next guy, but Oliveira is for real. I would love to see him fight Khabib. That would be one of the only.
He hasn't lost since 2017.
I would rather see him fight Khabib than Gaethje or Poirier or McGregor again. I would pay money to see that fight.
Yeah, I obviously don't want to see Gaethje or McGregor fight him again, or Poirier depends. Has Oliveira fought? He hasn't fought Khabib before, yeah.
No. He's been around for years.
Right. That's my thing. I know
bloomer.
he's been around for years. I need to see him go up against Gaethje to build my confidence to say he can do it. Because I don't think he can beat Gaethje personally. I just don't think he can beat Gaethje. That's why I say he has no shot against Khabib.
I would love to see him against Khabib right now. And I would love to see a Gaethje fight because I think he actually beats Gaethje. He's bigger than him. He has the ground chops if Gaethje decides to take it to the ground. But he's such a hard hitter that I think Gaethje's going to have trouble getting started against him. And I think he can hit him early and often, especially with his jabs and with his straights, that he can kind of stop. Like Gaethje is not going to do exactly what he did to Tony Ferguson as he would try to do with Oliveira, right? Oliveira is going to hit him hard and early and be able to kind of slow him down going to those later rounds. And that's how you beat a guy like Gaethje. You have to stop him early. That's what Poirier did. That's what Khabib did. Well, a little bit different fashion, but you get my drift.
I smell you.
You smell what the Ross cooking?
Yeah.
Smell that milk lager you drinking.
This podcast is sponsored by Revolver Brewing, Blood and Honey.
Listen up today.
It's all right, man. Excited to have a little bit of listen up. I'm gonna see you guys. I haven't seen you guys in a whole month.
Turn up, Daniel.
Turn up, Daniel.
No, sir. I'm too old to turn up. I don't turn up anymore. I have
Turn
2
down.
beers and I fall asleep where I'm sitting. I wake up at 6 a.m.
That's cute.
Ready to go to work. Right. That's what I tell the fans.
Respect.
That's cute.
All right, so let me ask you a question. One more UFC question: Francis Ngannou versus
Miocic.
Stipe Miocic was announced this weekend. Who you got and how?
We'll catch that and give our predictions next time.
Give your early predictions, man.
Oh, you know how we do. You know how we do.
Okay, let me ask you something different since you want to keep things close to the vest. Does either one of them beat John Jones?
I think Ngannou has a better shot.
I agree.
I think Ngannou has a better shot. Unless Stipe just comes out and dominates Ngannou. I think
he has already done that.
Ooh. DC?
Oh, Chris about to fall down.
Ooh.
Don't
I
get
think
it
Stipe-
twisted. I would
think
pay $500 to see DC versus John Jones at heavyweight. That's my biggest dream in the world. Sadly, DC is, if you haven't seen him, he looks a lot like Officer Winslow from the Family Matters series now.
Oh,
He
Officer Winslow.
He is still enjoying retirement. So
Oh
I
my
will let you
God.
right off into the sunset.
You talking about that last fight, huh?
No, I'm talking about seeing him in the announcer's booth this weekend.
No,
He
yeah.
has that mustache
yeah.
going. He's pretty
Yeah,
thick.
that's what I say. The last fight, this last weekend. Oh my goodness.
Well,
He's
no,
munching on
not
some
Stipe.
donuts.
I'm talking about this weekend. He was in the announcer's booth this weekend. He looked like he had gained
Yeah, that's what
30
I'm talking about.
pounds since his fight against Stipe.
Yeah.
Man,
Mr. Winslow, he had a
looks
fine
happy.
career, sir.
Cormier looked like Shrek. So all he needs is Draymond Green to join him. We got modern day Shrek and Donkey.
Wow.
Anyway, y'all didn't hear me say-
Controversial.
Space Jam 3.
Hey, so what is this? Speaking of Space Jam, what is this whole thing about? I heard it's finished. I heard it's coming out soon.
I don't know.
What is Space Jam 2 about?
LeBron James probably going up and playing the new Monstars, which will probably be something like.
Who's in that movie? Is Draymond Green in that movie?
Nah, I don't think so.
Who are the Monstars this year? Because last time it was Muggsy Bogues, Patrick Ewing.
Now I think it'll probably be like Damian Lillard because they're really good friends.
Whoever his clients are.
Yeah. Or I don't even think Chris Paul. So I'm thinking like actually it could be like Chris Paul.
That's Muggsy Bogues.
Yeah, it's the Muggsy Bogues, Carmelo Anthony.
Nate Robinson was in there, but then he got knocked out, so they felt he wasn't right to be in the movie anymore.
Carmelo Anthony would probably be another one I'm thinking. Maybe Kevin Durant. Who else? Damian. I know they're good friends. I would say Damian Lillard. Maybe Anthony Davis now. And
Anthony Davis as Sean Bradley.
yeah.
And hitting the hospital and fall, or hitting the still beam in the hospital and falling down.
Gonna have that unibrow.
If not, honestly it could. I said if not, you could throw Bobo in there.
No CGI needed. There he is.
But yeah.
So, any other MMA questions, Marshall?
Yeah. What do you think is? Here's another one that was fighting. This is switching over to some boxing. As we may have heard, Jake Paul is going to be fighting former UFC fighter Ben Askren in an 8-round pro boxing match in April.
So that's the first I've heard of that. I saw that he had announced a date, but I didn't know the opponent. They telling me this. I almost forgot about it.
So my question is, do you think Jake Paul is actually a legit fighter, or do you think he kind of running because he's fighting older dudes?
Jake Paul.
Chris Paul.
State Farm.
State Farm,
baby. Got that insurance. He's good to go.
He is a legit fighter, but he is a very low-level fighter. So he's a club boxer. That is why he's fighting these former UFC fighters, athletes. He needs some tune-up fights. But I don't doubt that he can be a very good fighter. I don't think he'll ever get there because his career is just not going to last long enough, right? Give him 5 years, sure. He could probably maybe make it to whatever the 5th or 6th title is that the WBC has nowadays. But I think Askren smokes him.
Really?
Askren, we all saw what happened when Askren faced Cuban Jesus. But Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah.
Scarface.
Yeah.
But Askren, the real thing is Askren's an actual combat sport legend. Regardless of what we saw of him in the UFC, he was already old by then. He was undefeated for the longest time. He's beat a who's who of MMA fighters, Aoki. I want to say he even beat Michael Chandler at one point.
Got hands though?
But he doesn't really have hands, and that's why it's going to be interesting. That's why I still think he beats Jake Paul, because even though he doesn't have hands and he's a gold medal Olympian, he has enough hands to beat Jake Paul.
Yeah.
And he's going to expose Jake Paul. And that's why I don't think Jake Paul is going to get good enough to be anything. Because if he doesn't beat Ben Askren, this is where it all ends, right? It's going to be like the Nate Robinson effect. If you can't beat a guy who has no hands and who was a Olympic wrestler, that's all he's known for, then you don't even deserve any of these other fights. But I think
or he
Ben
becomes
Askren,
Rocky.
What's that?
Or he just becomes Rocky.
In order to become Rocky, he has to go the distance with the champ, right?
Yeah. So,
I mean, I just don't think Ben Askren give him. When is the fight? April 26th, right?
April 17th.
April 17th. You give Ben Askren 12 weeks to just train nothing but stand up and not have to worry about anything else.
Mhm.
He destroys Jake Paul.
Okay. We will see. But I would go into another topic that I have for the UFC today, but I'm gonna hold it off because this topic could last for another hour because we will be going
forever.
That's fine, man. That's fine. Introduce it so that I could have gather my ammo for next time.
Okay, so to think about this for next time, it's the continuing part of boxing versus MMA.
Oh,
That could go on for. We need a Cutman's Corner special for this one.
We will because as we saw, McGregor, a striker, once you take them legs out, what happens? And I don't think boxing's gonna be ready for that. But we gonna hold it. Hold on. Don't say anything. We gonna hold that off for the Cutman's Corner.
Oh, so the official question is, just to leave our fans wanting more. The official question is, if a fighter does what Poirier did this weekend and employs the calf kicks, what is a boxer to do?
Yeah.
like Lieutenant Danham.
Yep.
Bro, Lieutenant Dan was still the man eating down his legs.
But we're gonna leave
Legs.
it. Since we got you here, man, too, for Cutman, I want to go into a little bit of NBA. I know you know some NBA too. You're not just one dimensional.
Not nearly as much as G-Reg and Donovan Mitchell and you yourself, the best, Marshall. But I can hold my own.
Well, I want to ask you this question. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden. Do you see that working?
Oh, man. Speaking of what could be a special, right? No. This is why. And I love all three of these guys. I think, and this is a underrated opinion, call me wrong. I think James Harden is the humblest guy of those three. But no, I don't see it working. And because there's not enough ball to go around.
The humblest guy of those three?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Give me some evidence otherwise.
He's got a point. He's definitely got a point.
Give me some evidence. Otherwise, shoot, the dude wanted everything that he wanted in Houston.
But Houston gave him everything.
Houston gave him everything.
That's like taking a kid and saying, here, you have everything you ever wanted. We're not going to put you in timeout. We're going to let you do everything else. The first time and then you decide to put some rules out. You can't do that. You can't do that with a kid. I don't blame Houston. And I don't say that Harden was right in this. But you can't give a person everything they wanted and then all of a sudden take it away and expect things to be okay.
But he wanted it taken away. That was the thing. He was the one that wanted to go to the small ball lineup. He got those guys traded.
He has to get Westbrook traded?
No, I was talking about how they used to let him go to Vegas. He used to be able to go to like Vegas and drink before games and stuff like that, or party or whatever. Basically do whatever he wanted. They wait for him, the plane to take off whenever. It was just a laissez-faire attitude in Houston, right?
Yeah.
He got whatever he wanted.
Yeah. And so that's why I'm like, I don't see that as being humble. Like, if you're humble, you're like, no, I'll come help out the franchise. He forced his way out of here. I don't want to hear humble. If anything, Kevin Durant
out of those three.
Humble.
No,
I didn't say he's
Kevin
humble.
Durant to me.
I didn't say he's humble by any means.
He bought the baby honey buns. I mean, that's kind of humble, bro.
What'd you say?
You buy another man honey buns.
Thank you. Gave him.
I'm saying out of those three guys, because Kyrie is might as well be Kanye at this point. He's out of this world. His head popped off. He's out in space, drawing some, whatever his He's doing whatever art. He should be in Space Jam. He should be part of the Monstars already because he's already out in the space doing his drawings and creating his art, right? But no, I don't see it working. And here's the reason I don't see it working. If you guys have ever heard of The Secret by Isaiah Thomas / Bill Simmons, if you've ever heard of that, that is why that is not going to work. And please, one of you guys ask me, what is the secret to basketball, Daniel Garcia?
What is the secret to basketball?
The secret was like you manifest things.
I thought everybody was gonna be quiet. I was gonna say cricket.
I was hoping you guys would be quiet. But thank you, Donovan Mitchell. That's why you're gonna be great, sir, because you actually want to know the secret. So, and I told you guys I'm gonna buy you this for Christmas this year. But Bill Simmons wrote a book of basketball, 700-page love story to basketball. And in it, he talks about the first chapter is called The Secret. He talks about how Isaiah Thomas basically came out with this in the 80s. No one ever asked him about it again. And they're out there in Vegas. And this is after Isaiah Thomas' failed experiment in New York. And he asked him, hey, let me talk about The Secret. And the secret is basically this. In order to win a title, you have to have guys that are willing to sacrifice. Essentially, this is the Cliff Notes version, right? You have to have guys that are willing to sacrifice. And I just do not see Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden all sacrificing for this team. Can someone tell me otherwise? I mean,
I do.
Well, I get what you're saying. Now, I will say this. Harden is taking less shots, and he's passing because he can pass better than...
Because he's the most humble on the team. I'm sorry. I'll stop.
But my thing is,
You're on
he's
fire.
stepping back because Durant and Kyrie have won championships. They've been there already. Harden has not. He's been to the finals, but he didn't win. My thing is, those guys alone can't win you a championship if you don't have anybody on your bench to back them up. If they had Jared Allen still and LeVert, I'd be like, okay, you know what I mean? Personally, they're struggling to win these games because they're tired. Like you got to play 38, 39, 40 plus minutes between both of them. And if their shots are not going in, who else is going to make shots for you? So unless they're able to get some other pieces for that team, Harden and Durant were working. Both of them were averaging 30. Harris was getting his shots. DeAndre Jordan, and I think they had Cabaret, whatever his name with the wine last name coming off the bench.
Harden and Durant have worked before, though.
Say it again.
Harden and Durant have worked before, though.
Yeah, well, they've done summer league and stuff and played together too.
No, I'm talking about OKC.
Yeah, OKC, yeah, but they were young. Now they're both grown. They both have led teams. Those two work. Kyrie is kind of the wild card. I mean, he's out here shooting 20-something shots a game, to get his shots up. Kyrie's
the Joker. Don't get it twisted. And I'm not saying that like it's a bad thing. I'm saying he really truly is
like your Joker in his eyes.
Well, he can say whatever he wants.
So
I mean, Kyrie is an
perspective,
NBA
isn't it?
It all is about perspective, and I'm the one talking about Kyrie right now. So yes, but
third eye.
Here's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm here talking about another NBA player, and I respect Kyrie. He's an absolutely fantastic NBA player. He has skills that most people would kill for, but he just doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. And I'm sorry, I am older than Kyrie right now, so I am. This is why I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I've never been an actual NBA player, so I haven't made that mistake. But he doesn't quite understand the position he's in right now. And this is why I've kind of always talked about this. I think he will realize one day that the problem really does lie with him. And I hope he does in time. Kobe did the same thing when he wanted out. And then he found Gasol and Artest, meta world peace.
And Bynum.
Where is that guy at nowadays?
I saw him in the stand in one game. I was like, what?
I mean, he got that crazy barbershop So just the entertainer hairdo that he had. I don't know. That dude.
I always wonder where that guy is nowadays. That guy was he could have been really, really good.
He making regular people money.
But I don't know. I just think Kyrie Irving is so much better than what he's kind of been putting out there. And I like what he says. I actually really like when he came back, that press conference that he threw, and he said, you know what, this is bigger than all of us. He's like, I just want us to gel. He's saying the right things, but he's also kind of saying things that and doing things that kind of go against what he's saying. And he knows what it takes to win, to play winning basketball, but it's almost like it has to be on his terms.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we all have to work together. We have to play right. We all have to sync, but only if it's on his terms. And I hope he's right. I hope it works. I really do.
Most dominant. I mean, most players want to win on their own terms, right?
Yeah. But how many players are in position to win on their own terms? LeBron could say it. LeBron could say it all day.
LeBron.
He's done it and he can do it. Kobe had done it and he can do it.
Shaq.
Jordan did it and can do it. Shaq too. How many can Kyrie? Is he in position to say that and do it? Because he hasn't really done it before.
He hasn't. And I mean,
do you want someone to tell you can't do something, or you just want the opportunity to make that happen and see that for yourself? Like, would you want someone to put a cap on
the
you?
way he's going about it? He's not going to be able to find out.
It depends, Greg. Because
I love you, Greg.
Like if someone told you can't do this, this is your level. This is what you need to stop at. This is where you're at. You're like, can I just try? Can I try to be that level and see if I can do it?
It should be motivation, but I understand what you're saying. It's just like, damn, y'all are always.
No, see, and here, this is where I'm coming from. Okay, I want a job that's 1 of 32 in the entire world. So I kind of understand where this is coming from, right? Like, okay, I've said it out loud. Hey, I'm going to become an NFL strength coach. I'm telling y'all in the pod. You could easily say, hey, Dan, you won't do it. I've been told my whole entire life I'm not gonna get there. You have to have something special. You have to do this, blah blah. That's just too high of a level. Okay, here's the difference. When you say you want to do something, if you actually come out and you do it and you put your cards on the table and you do it correctly and you come at it in the correct way, there's a certain way where people will just come out and say, hey, okay, I believe you. Why? Because you're the way you're coming at it. I get it. Now, this is why I say the way Kyrie's coming at it. He's saying those things, same things that I'm saying, even more so, right? He wants to be one of the greatest of all time. But the way he's coming at it, it's 1 + 1. It doesn't add up. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you.
So you could disagree with me. I get it. But I'm just saying the things that he's saying, I love it. I love when people say that. But the what he's doing doesn't add up to it. Do you get what I'm saying, Greg?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like we saw it with Kobe, right? People told him, what are you doing forcing your way, trying to make them choose between you and Shaq? You two could easily, if you would just play the second fiddle, y'all could, or 1A or 1B, you can win multiple more championships. There's no reason why to break this up. And Kobe's like, I want to show that I can do it on my own, that I can be that man. And I'm going to try and try and try. And I believe I can do it.
Ego.
Okay.
Ego thing.
But this is equal to, and what came out, what was it, a few weeks ago, and basically, he put down, I know Kobe put down Shaq, but he basically said, hey, I don't really agree with the whole Jason Kidd signing. I should have been asked about that. And then me and Kevin Durant really don't have a good
Jason Kidd.
Huh?
Steve Nash.
Yeah.
Steve Nash. And so that's like Kobe coming out after getting Pau Gasol, being like, me and Pau, we don't really get along. I don't really like actually, you know what? Okay, I do. You made me go back on my word, Greg. Because
you are the Joker.
He did put down. I'm the ace of spades, baby.
Ooh.
Because he did have a lot of animosity towards Phil Jackson and Shaq. But this is what I'm saying in terms of Kobe came out and he realized what he did wrong in a lot of ways. And that's what I hope Kyrie does.
We thought
I hope
Kyrie
Kyrie changes around.
because like he came out and apologized to LeBron, but then went right back and bashed him on Kevin Durant's.
Yeah, but
Right.
Kobe kind of he started out just like Kyrie, but when Kobe had his other chance with Ron Artest, with Gasol, with Bynum, he did kind of grow up, and we saw that, right? Has Kyrie done the same things yet?
Not yet.
Not at this point, no.
So that's what I'm saying. I hope he does. And if he doesn't ever do that, then he's going to realize the mistake he made. But that's exactly basically the point I'm trying to make. And I'm sorry, Chris. I saw you trying to say something. What were you trying to say earlier? Just because you were trying to get my back, so I need some backing.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can't remember what point you were making at the time.
Tough. Daniel likes to talk a lot.
I talk way too much.
I was with you, and then you went back on it, so I can't remember at what part of it we were on the same page. I know what it is. It's like Kyrie Irving and Kawhi Leonard are like the same person, just on two different spectrums. As far as like Kawhi is doing it quietly, and he's like, whoa. Overall, in general, there's two ways to approach like trying to get your dreams. You can do it brash and like loudly and say, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and all your actions are up in front of everybody's vision to see, or you can do it quietly and you're just doing it in the woodworks and behind the curtain, right? And so that's Kyrie and Kawhi. They're both on the opposite. Kyrie's trying to do it brash and loud. Kawhi's doing it quietly, but they're both
extra emotional. The other one's not.
Yeah, but they're both not doing it or achieving it. But I mean, Kawhi's already won 3 championships. No, 2. He's 2. So I mean, he's not doing it with the Clippers though. That's the problem.
Hey, Daniel, before you go on, I want to ask you this question because this is where I want to lead it to.
Do you have another hour?
Huh?
I said you have another hour.
We're gonna wrap it up here in just a second, but I did want to ask you this question. I think that the best place for Kyrie Irving, because I think the Nets should trade him, is actually with your team, the Clippers. And the Clippers should trade Marcus Morris and Lou Williams, or trade Patrick Beverly and Lou Williams, something along those lines. Y'all been looking to get rid of Lou Williams for the long time. The Nets need to upgrade their bench. Kawhi would finally have that point guard in Kyrie. Yes, I understand Kyrie and Paul George shooting a lot of shots, yada, yada, yada. But you do upgrade from Patrick Beverly on the offensive side. And Kyrie's not a terrible defender either.
And you get a point guard too. Exactly. Actually, I wouldn't mind that. I
he may actually be a bit clutcher than both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So yeah. I think, because don't get me wrong, the Clippers are good. They have a lot of bench players, but that wouldn't be Kyrie's ultimate motivation to team up with Kawhi and Paul George and go at LeBron and Anthony Davis. Then I would be like, they might have a shot.
And they also, I think, have a chance to reel in Kawhi because of their two personalities. Like, I mean, not Kawhi, Kyrie. Kawhi is such a quiet guy. He doesn't like all this drama around him. And neither does PG, right? PG actually has played better this year because of that. And I actually don't disagree with you at all. I wouldn't mind it. I think it's a little perilous when it comes to, hey, how is the team going to react? Because Kyrie is a wild card, right? He's just one of those guys that just, how is he going to react? What if he doesn't get his shots? What if he doesn't get this? What if he's go on a losing streak? I actually don't disagree.
I think he would get his shots for sure.
And the Clippers have the pieces to be able to trade for that.
Yeah, and I think that also makes Brooklyn a better team too. Because here's what, when I'm looking at trades, I'm always like, all right, if you're trading something to one team, I'm looking at how each team is getting better. And a lot of times, some of these trades that are made, I'm like, yo, one team didn't get better. Why the hell did you make that trade? Like, it's for a future thing. I'm like, if you're gonna make a trade, obviously you can do some picks, blah, 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 but look to do better this season, you know.
But most of the trades nowadays that are made in the NBA are made strictly for salary cap reasons or draft picks or whatever. They're not really made to make both teams better, right?
Yeah. Outside of the one that was made for, you know, the whole Harden, LeVert, Oladipo, that was actually to make teams better. Like Houston.
But that still wasn't made strictly to make teams better. That was made strictly for draft picks or, you know, Houston's not getting better this year because they got Oladipo. They're getting better because of the 4 or 5 draft picks they got in that trade.
I think, well, for now, because, I mean, you didn't know Harden wasn't really playing anyway, so at least you have a guy that's going to try and Oladipo. As far as LeVert going to Indiana, obviously he had the kidney problem, which he's supposed to be fine, thank God. But he essentially could make the Pacers better. And then Jared Allen and Taurean Prince have clearly made impacts with Cleveland, making them better. So that's why I'm just like,
they definitely that trade is gonna it's gonna be interesting to see a year from now.
Harden to me makes the Nets better than having Kyrie. So it's interesting.
And absolutely. I'm loving humble Harden right now. Fear the beard.
We'll see. He really wasn't fat like he was shown. Anyway,
hey, before I go, I know you guys have time limits and stuff, and I know I talk a lot, but one question that I want to ask all y'all: what's your storyline in the NBA season so far this year?
Obviously, COVID, contact tracing.
What's that? Okay, but I'm talking about just like give me your surprise of the season, or give me your favorite moment of the season. Give me what have you liked about NBA so far that you've been surprised about, player wise, not necessarily contact tracing, COVID wise, because that's over everything, right?
Yeah.
Player wise, let's let C-Mac go first because we talk over.
Like I like to say myself and my play, averaging 30 points a game.
Honestly, I'm just out here trying to prove Shaq wrong every day, night in and night out. Utah Jazz going to the finals. Utah Jazz in 4. That's my pick, man. Donovan Mitchell right here, outplaying everybody.
Okay, is he making the leap this year?
Also, the Jazz being second.
Is he
overall.
what?
Yeah.
Is he making the leap this year?
The leap to the finals?
No, I'm talking about just the superstar leap.
Like, are we going to see the consistent Donovan Mitchell?
So.
First team, second team, All NBA.
First team.
Taking his team to the conference finals.
Second team, probably. Yeah.
Mr. G-Reg, whose opinion I value more than 99% of people in the world. What do you say, sir?
Don't be buttering me up. I know what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to. Yes, I just want you to like me, G-Reg.
Stab me in the back.
Is that so much to
Julius
ask?
Caesar.
I just want you to like me. That's it. I'm trying so
hard. What am I most
here.
surprised about?
Or what do you feel people should be talking about more than they are currently in NBA outside of contract tracing and COVID?
I think I know what it might be.
I'm happy that Embiid's finally dominating.
Like now that's a take.
Obviously he's, for a long time we see the measurables and see what he could do as a big man. You just like, dude, if you just have the attitude and you just get yourself in a great shape and you have that mindset, you could dominate every big. You could dominate anything. Like your footwork, your athleticism, everything is just so on another level than people. And to see him actually be able to, to start doing that I think that's something special.
That's
awesome. I like that.
I actually there's about 3 that I can actually think of real quick, Daniel.
Here we go, baby. Here we go.
I thought I talked a lot. Damn. What do you got, sir?
All right. Well, first off, I want to, the narrative of Gordon Hayward. He's shown, I can still play in Charlotte. Granted, they aren't, they're a below 500 team right now, but he's still putting up buckets, with him and LaMelo, and their team I think is heading in the right direction. So it's good to see that.
I have him on fantasy, so I could vouch for that.
All right. So he's doing well. The second one I would have to say, going to where Greg, you're talking about in Philly, how Ben Simmons has regressed offensively. Ben Simmons is getting to the point of where I'm like, is he just another Draymond Green? Because he can get to the hoop. I get it. He gets his assists and boards, but shoot the daggone ball, son. Like, this is too damn long for you not shooting the ball. If you start shooting the ball and becoming more of a threat, them shots are going to start going in, and then Philly is a real threat to go to the finals. But until then, he is what's holding that team back.
Can he shoot the ball, though? That's the real question.
We've seen him do it in practice. He shot wide open threes before. He shoots free throws, for crying out loud. Shoot the damn ball. Quit being scary. So that's number 2. My third and the one that I've been high on from last year and then even the year before, especially if they make this one move, which they're kind of somewhat coming around to, but still haven't fully committed to, is them damn Denver Nuggets. Not having Michael Porter Jr. in your lineup has made a difference. Like you can literally see it. The dude dropped 30 last night and they beat Dallas. Okay. We know how good Jokic is. Murray kind of makes the league. Yeah, he's sometimes great, sometimes, with that. I mean, they still have a solid team, but why aren't y'all playing Bobo? Play Bobo, man. I'm telling you, as soon as they decide we gonna play Bobo, the Nuggets, the sky's the limit for the Nuggets, man. So that's one of the smaller storylines. I know people are gonna be like, oh, well, Bobo's really not that good. Yes, the hell he is. He is. He really is that good. And he can be. He's still learning. I get it. But they were talking about Michael Porter Jr. in the same light. They're like, well, he's kind of there. I know he's not the best defender. Chris, yes, they were. C-Mac, yes, they were. They were talking about Michael Porter
I was
Jr.
like, don't compare.
There's always injuries concerns with them, right?
Don't compare them. Don't compare them. That's what I was getting. I was
What do you mean
getting the
don't
same
compare
page. Don't compare Bobo and PJ.
Why not? Bobo had
All right.
injuries.
Continue.
They're
Continue, man.
freaks. There are freaks in MPJ is a 6'10", 6'11" small forward that can shoot the ball very well. Bobo is 7'3". They're unicorns. You use your freaking unicorns. That's what I'm trying to say. Bobo ain't trash to where like he's slow, moving around. Like the dude took the ball from coast to coast and dunked it on people and pulled up from three and knows how to pass the ball. Use him. Get him experience.
Greg Oden did the same thing back in the day. I agree.
Greg Oden was slow though. Like he wouldn't last in today's NBA. He was slower. But anyway, those are my three storylines. I ain't worried about the damn Clippers, and we already know the Lakers.
I was hoping the Clippers and the Lakers would not be brought up. They've spoken for themselves.
Pretty much.
Go ahead. Honestly, mine is the Toronto Raptors. How poorly they're actually doing. I thought Pascal Siakam would take the leap this year. He really kind of hasn't taken a hold of that team. Kyle Lowry kind of looks a little old. I honestly don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. I hesitated in saying that. But
they started playing better as of late because Atlanta's fallen off of having the injury Gallinari and Bogdanovic, because that was really one of the reasons why they were supposed to be good. So they could still make it, man. They really, really could. Because that 8th spot in the East is wide open. They can still make it.
Or you could even set the Heat.
The Heat's another one. What the hell is up with Jimmy Butler? What the hell is up with Jimmy
People
Butler?
thought they were contenders this year.
Oh, hell no. I knew they weren't going to be no contenders. They got very fortunate last year. But what the hell is up with Jimmy Butler, man? Like,
you should ask him that. He'll probably get pissed off and start playing better. He takes things very personal.
I mean, I think he needs a running mate, personally. I really, really do.
He's out right now. Well, he got a lot of injuries right now. Or is it just COVID? I think it's just COVID because Hero's out, Gardner's day-to-day, Avery Bradley's out, Martin's out. Yeah.
Bam is playing great.
I think Dragic, it just like Dragic was on another level that it was crazy what level he was on.
Yeah,
last year.
And I just don't think that can be sustained.
Nope.
He was even hurt though the majority of that series when they were keeping up with
Lakers.
The Lakers, right?
Yeah, and Jimmy Butler was really willing that team. Like you saw the superstardom of Jimmy Butler. But I think he needs to be on a team as he's one of those guys like a DeMar DeRozan that could be the second best player on a great team. Him, DeMar, and Paul George, and unfortunately Carmelo. Like those 4 guys in their careers could be the second best player on a team full of stars.
True.
That's what I think.
All right, gentlemen.
I want to say,
it was fantastic. I'm glad I got to hang with you guys.
Daniel, before you leave, I got one more thing before you leave because we're going to close out the show. Last quick small thing. NBA is looking to have a possible All-Star game in Atlanta, March the 7th. I hope they keep the same format, pick teams and all that stuff, because last year's All-Star game was just great. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if they do it. We'll see if they don't. But that was the last thing. That ends the show for this week. I appreciate all of y'all being on the show, man. Cut, man. Obviously, you can go follow us on YouTube right now. We're getting back into Anchor and Spotify coming up under Stats versus Facts Sports Talk. If you ain't got that VS, what you listening to, Daniel? I don't know if you know this.
What am I listening to? Ooh,
You ain't got that VS. Listening
right now,
to?
I'm listening to my boy Chris Webby. Just dropped a new album.
Little Webby?
No, not Little Webby.
Oh,
Not Little Webby. My boy Chris Webby. He's a little bit more alternative hip hop for those of y'all who have the liking for that.
Mm-hmm. But
he just dropped a new album. Hold on, I'm trying to look for it. Apparently, I cannot find it. I'm terrible at this stuff. Check him out.
Yeah,
Bravo Gator just dropped a new album.
But Daniel, if you ain't got the VS, what you listening to, Greg?
that BS.
You ain't got the VS, you listen to some VS.
Oh shit! Never mind.
FM.
I don't know. What are you guys even talking about? The BS, the VS.
Stats versus facts. Stats.
It's been a long time. I thought you were talking about music, man. You make me look. You throw me out on a limb here.
Maybe if you would fulfill your obligations and be here more.
Hey, it wasn't in my contract, all right? I'm like Conor McGregor, you gotta pay me my money.
Yes, it was. You were supposed to be here on Friday when we was talking about the preview for the US.
I was.
Anyway,
I apologize about that, guys.
Go check us out, Stats versus Facts Sports Talk on YouTube, SVF Sports Talk on Twitter, Instagram. Go also follow our brother show, Spurs versus Everybody, on Instagram and Twitter. Absolutely. And go follow the cut man himself, Danny G14. I believe this is IG.
Yes, sir.
Twitter as well, something like that.
Danny GG13 on Twitter. Hit me up. I'm about to create a Cutman's account. Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate y'all having me on, man. I know I talk a lot.
You good, man. We
thank you for letting me do that, and appreciate y'all, man.
Appreciate having you on. For Daniel, C-Mac, G-Reg, and for Cutman, C-Mac, and G-Reg, it has been your boy Marsh. And wait a minute. Hold on. I got to get out of here.
Oh, no, baby.
And we will catch you next time on that. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, no, baby.
Stats versus facts. Ayy. Stats versus facts. Ayy. Know where we at on the stats versus facts. Yeah, my boy, hella black. He black. On the stats versus facts. And you might get smacked by the stats versus facts. Ayy.
G-Reg is the GOAT.
Drop bowls on them.
Peace.
Bull.
Bowls.